Hey everyone, it is Christine. Welcome back. If you are new here, hi. I am mama to 3 under the age of 5, and I run a parenting blog called christinekeys.net. This video is going along with a post that I've got on the blog, so if you want to read more, then I will have it linked in the description below. But before we jump into the topic for today, please go ahead and subscribe so you can keep up to date with the videos that I'm posting, parenting tips and tricks, mom hacks, that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you want to keep up to date with that, please subscribe. But today we're going to be talking about how to wean your baby from night feeds and get them sleeping through the night. I have 3 children, as I said, and I've used different methods with all of them, variations of methods, hybrid methods, but they all have been sleeping through the night by about 3-4 months of age with absolutely no night feeds. And so I'm going to share with you 7 different methods that you can try to get your baby sleeping through the night. Not all of them, like they're all quite different. You don't have to use cry it out with all of them. It really is up to you, and you could use, you could do a couple of them to, make a hybrid method for yourself. And it's fine if you do not have any desire to get your baby sleeping through the night and dropping feeds. That's fine. That's totally your prerogative. There's nothing wrong with that. But this is for the mamas that are tired and feel as though their babies are ready to sleep through the night without having to be fed. And they're just looking for some solutions on how to do that. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to talk about is when your baby is ready to drop the night feed. And that's actually something you need to be talking to your healthcare provider about. I'm not going to give you advice on as to when your baby is ready. Obviously, they need to be happy and healthy. They need to be growing well and thriving. You don't want to, take away feeds if they're not growing well. So please talk to your healthcare provider and also trust your mama instinct. You just know if your baby is doing well or not, and whether or not you should proceed with something like this. So that's kind of just a disclaimer. I'm not here to tell you when they should drop them. This is just a how-to guide. All right, before we actually go into discussing the methods, I want to talk about establishing healthy sleep habits, because that's actually the most important thing that you need to work on first. If your baby cannot put themselves to sleep without your help or the help of a pacifier or some other kind of sleep prop, that needs to be addressed first. It's like a whole separate issue. A lot of people think that like sleep training and dropping feeds go hand in hand, but they're actually separate. They can go hand in hand. You can do it both at the same time, but they don't have to. They're not like entwined. They can be done exclusively. So the first thing I would recommend is making sure that your baby can go to sleep on their own without having to be rocked, without having to be fed to sleep. And you may find that they stop waking up at night, because a lot of parents feel as though their babies are waking up to be fed, when in reality they're waking up and then they don't know how to put themselves back to sleep on their own. And so they're used to being fed and then they can go back to sleep. So that's just something to be aware of, that your baby may not even wake up if they know how to put themselves to sleep on their own. They may just stop waking up entirely and may not need night feeds. And we're talking more about like older babies, like I'm thinking 4 months plus. But that's something to be aware of. If they do not know how to put themselves to sleep on their own yet, you need to focus on that first. Pick a method, go with it. My 2 favorite methods that I have used with my children are Babywise and Moms on Call. I think both methods are great. They work really, really well. Obviously, please use your intuition as a parent. Look at your baby first. Don't look at a book. All that kind of common sense, logical stuff. With any method, it can be abused if you are not, using your parental judgment as well. Okay, let's jump into the methods. Number 1, the first point is to start with the day. If you have not got a consistent daily routine for your baby, that is the first place you need to start. It's going to be harder for them to sleep long stretches at night if they do not have a consistent routine during the day. The other thing is, having a consistent routine means that you can make sure that they're getting the right amount of nutrition throughout the day, so that you are therefore comfortable weaning them at night. If they're not having enough during the day, I don't know about you, but me as a parent, I would not feel comfortable depriving them of food at nighttime, like trying to get rid of feeds. So having a nice routine during the day is essential, in my opinion, to helping with night sleep. How you do that, the kind of routine you choose, should be tailored to your baby. You know your baby best. you can definitely look at guides online. The babywisemom.com is a great place to look for wake time ideas, because every baby is different. Like, my children have all had different wake times at different ages from each other. So you need to pay attention to your baby when you're like figuring out how long they can stay up before they need to have a nap. And then also how much sleep they need during the day. That'll also impact their nighttime sleep. If they're overtired, they'll probably wake more frequently at night. And if they're undertired, they may also do the same thing, because obviously they don't need all that night sleep. So just making sure that you've got a consistent feeding schedule through the day, so they're getting the right amount of calories that they need. And then on top of that, making sure they get the right sleep that they need for, you know, your individual baby. Try not to compare too much, because children are not robots. They're not all going to do the same thing. They're all different. My kids have been vastly different from one another as far as sleep needs go. So just bear all that in mind. Method number 2 is to add a dream feed, and I really, really like this for younger babies or babies where you're a little concerned they're not having enough during the day, because it's like a nice gentle way of getting rid of the nighttime feeds but still making sure they get enough calories. So I introduce a dream feed with my babies when they're like quite young, like still in the newborn stage, and then they slowly drop the nighttime feeds, but they keep that dream feed. And if you're unfamiliar with what a dream feed is, essentially it is a bottle or a nursing session that you give to your baby right as you're going to bed. So between 10 and 11 p.m. typically is when a dream feed is, and you do not wake your baby for the dream feed. You give it to them while they're like half asleep or fully asleep. They just take the bottle, take the breast, and that's a feed for them, and then they tend to do longer stretches. Method number 3 is to use a pacifier, and a pacifier is technically a sleep prop. However, I do think they can have their place, and you don't have to have it so that your baby fully relies on it to fall asleep. Using a pacifier is really helpful for little babies when you're teaching them to make longer stretches at night. And yes, they can be taught. So what I have done, and what you would do with this method, is when your baby wakes up at night crying, do not go in and feed them straight away. Go in and give them the pacifier and see if that soothes them. Wait 5 minutes. If they're still crying, give them the pacifier again. And after that, give them the pacifier one more time. If they still will not sleep, then go ahead and feed them. But offering them the passy, in my experience, my baby would take the passy and continue sleeping for an hour or two before she needed the next feed. And so gradually over time, it expanded into longer and longer intervals, and eventually she just didn't wake for feeds at night at all. So that's a nice gentle way of doing it, is to offer them the passy. It doesn't necessarily have to involve any sort of crying or anything like that, and it's really easy just to get up and pop the passy in their mouth. So if your baby takes a pacifier, then that's a great method to try and use. Number 4 is soothing rounds, and this is a method that you'll find in the Mums on Call book. So basically what they will teach you to do is let your baby wake up at night, wait 5 minutes before you go in. They may fast for that 5 minutes. Go in, comfort them however you wish. Don't pick them up, but give them their passy or rub their belly, something like that. Go out, wait another 5 minutes, go in, comfort, passy, rub their belly, whatever. Wait 5 more minutes, go in, comfort, passy. And if they're just not settling, then you feed them. So it's similar to the pacifier method, but this method can involve crying. So if you're comfortable with letting your baby fast for 5 minutes at a time, then this is a method that you can use. I know not everybody's going to be comfortable with that. That's fine. But for those of you who are, this method is very effective. And as your baby gets older, you can lengthen the amount of time for each interval. So you could move it to 8 minutes and 10 minutes. But as I found, and I know other mamas have found, that they haven't needed to do that, because just by doing this from fairly early on, they just learn to sleep better and don't need those feeds. Number 5 is to reduce the amount that you're feeding them at night. So this is something that I've used to get rid of the dream feed with my babies, but it's also something you can use for middle of the night feeds. And basically, if you were giving them a bottle, you would slowly reduce the amount that you're giving them. So you could do half an ounce every couple nights. You could reduce it by until you've only got like 1 or 2 ounces left, and it's basically not needed. In which case, you would just drop the bottle altogether. If you're nursing, I would do it by the amount of time that you feed your baby. So if they usually feed for 15-20 minutes, you know, cut it down by a couple minutes every couple nights until it's barely anything. And that's also going to be a really nice gentle way of weaning. It doesn't necessarily have to involve crying. Sometimes you might find it does at the end, but if you've already established healthy sleep habits and you do this gradually, I would think that most babies would be able to just drop it without too much of a fuss. Okay, method number 6 is to wait, and I mean this in 2 ways. Number 1 is if your baby's under the age of 3 months, sometimes you just need to wait. You know, a 3-month-old is really, really young, and your baby may just need that night feed or a couple night feeds for a little bit longer, and that's fine. You just need to be patient and wait it out, as if you're working on healthy sleep habits, and they're going to eventually grow out of needing to be fed at night. The other part of this is to wait at night, to pause and to step back and wait 5 minutes. Because a lot of the time, babies wake up and they make noises at night, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're awake. Sometimes they'll even cry out, but they're actually not awake. It's just a sleep transition or something to that effect. And this is particularly true for my children around the 5 a.m. hour. I'll hear them stir or make a noise. And if I went in there and fed them, that would be them up for the day. But if I wait 5 minutes, they go back to sleep and then only wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So just don't jump up straight away. Wait. And if you need to, look at the clock, because I know that at nighttime, time can seem even longer than it actually is. But just wait and see how well your baby does. They may surprise you and just go right back to sleep. And then method number 7 is extinction, or just dropping the feed cold turkey. This is probably my least favorite method, but it is one worth mentioning. I don't have anything against it. I don't think the method is wrong, but it's just not something that I personally like doing. Using the extinction cry out method is a very, very controversial topic. You'll get parents who are adamantly against it and think you are abusive and awful if you do it, and you'll get parents on the other side who are totally fine with it. In my opinion, there is no research to actually show that it causes any long-term harm. I do think that you 100% need to make sure that your baby is old enough for it, is developmentally ready for it, that all their needs are met, etc., etc. I think just use your parental judgment and your mama instinct, and of course consult with your healthcare provider. With all of those things checked off, sometimes babies just need to learn to go to sleep and they need to learn to drop their feed. And so using cry it out and dropping those feeds cold turkey is not fun, but this is an effective method if you do it correctly. Alright, those are all the methods that we're going to discuss today, but I just wanted to say in summary that whichever method you choose, make sure that you give it a good full week before you decide whether or not it's working. Rome wasn't built in a day. This kind of stuff doesn't just happen overnight for most babies. It takes at least 3 to 5 nights to establish this, so I would recommend that you give it a full week before you decide to, try something else or give it up altogether. So I hope that you found these helpful. Give me some feedback. Have you used any kinds of sleep training, any of these methods? When did your babies drop their night feeds? I would be very curious to know. So leave some comments for me down below, and I will see you next time. Bye!